42%. Is the economy under Bola Tinubu in a mess? And tonight, we shall be engaging Kogi PDP governorship candidate Dino Melaye, and of course, we'll be giving you a highlight of what is happening in Ondo State, where is Akeredolu protest held with DSS and policemen barring them into the PDP secretariat. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimaloye in Abuja. Let's begin by letting you know what is happening in Ondo State in relation to Governor Rotimi Akeredolu, the governor. Some placard-carrying youths in Ondo State today converged on the PDP secretariat in Akure, the state capital, to express their displeasure on the Governor Rotimi Akeredolu's health status and his absence from the state. Not long after the protesters gathered at the party office, operatives of the DSS and some police officers stormed the secretariat of the PDP. Channels Television gathered that though the secretariat was not sealed off, security operatives prevented the youths from moving out of the secretariat to stage the protest. The protest was held within the premises of the PDP secretariat, where they were being barricaded by the security operatives. The publicity secretary of the PDP in Ondo State, Kennedy alleged that the security operatives did not allow some other youths who wanted to join the protest from entering the premises.
We got here to see that they have put armored personnel carriers and their hillock vehicles, almost 300 to 400 policemen armed to the teeth in front of our secretariat. And we're asking them, what were they doing here? They said no, they don't want people to enter the zone. But after a lot of intervention, they gave us access. And yet, all the youths that were supposed to participate in the exercise, the protest, are still outside. What we have asked for is very simple. Where is Governor Rotimi Akeredolu?
All right, then. So much to talk about tonight. We'll be checking on what is happening with the Nigeria's economy. Some of the issues that are happening. Inflation rate, 26% as of today, rising from August figures. And we'll be looking at what exactly is going on under the Bola Tinubu government. The plan, 1.5 billion loan from the World Bank, although Mr. Wale Edo says it's going to be at 0% rate. But then another round of loan to service the budget, as a budget support. We're looking at some of these issues. But again, on the program tonight, Senator Dino Melaye, a PDP governorship candidate in Kogi State, will be speaking with us. He has a plan to be the next governor of Kogi State. We're talking about his manifestos and his agenda. That and much more on the program tonight. But first, let's check out your political roundup stories.
Three newly screened ministers have been sworn in by President Bola Tinubu at today's Federal Executive Council meeting at the Presidential Villa. This is the second Federal Executive Council meeting since the ministers were sworn in on August 21. The newly sworn-in ministers are Dr. Jamila Bio Ibrahim, who is the Minister of Youth Development, Mr. Ayodele Olawane is the Minister of State Youths, and Mr. Balarabe Lawal, who is the Minister of Environment. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu administration has moved the Federal Executive Council FEC meeting from Wednesday to Monday. The Minister of Information, Mohammed Idris, disclosed this while briefing State House correspondents shortly after the FEC meeting held at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. The President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Monica Dongbam Mensem, has directed that all appeals arising from election petition cases across the country to be transferred to the Abuja and Lagos divisions. The order affects governorship, national and state assembly elections, which held between February and March 2023. The directive was issued following allegations and petitions against state tribunal judges. The Kogi State governorship candidate of the African Democratic Congress, Mr. Leke Abejide, is again reaffirming his commitment to transform the state through massive infrastructure development. Mr. Abejide stated these when he campaigned in Oguri Magongo and Okene local government areas of the state. In Imo State, some leaders of the Umumchi community in Isiala Mbano local government area of Imo State have declared their support for the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Senator Samuel Anyau. The leaders made the promise while receiving the PDP candidate who was in the community on the campaign visit. Still in Imo State, some women from the 6 local government areas of Imo North Senatorial District, known as Okigwe Zone, are calling for peace ahead of the November 11 governorship election in the state. The convener of the Women's Forum, Mrs. Gloria Akobundu, at a news conference in Owerri, condemns insecurity in the zone at Imo State as they declared their support for Governor Hope Uzodimma re-election bid. The candidate of Action Alliance, AA, for the 2023 National Assembly election for Bende Federal Constituency, Mr. Ifeanyi Igbokwe, is calling for the arrest and prosecution of anyone within his party that has filed a suit in his name to challenge the electoral victory of the incumbent Deputy Speaker, Honorable Benjamin Kalu. Mr. Igbokwe, who raised an alarm of impersonation, told journalists at a news conference in Abuja that he had since accepted the results of the election that declared the current Deputy Speaker, Mr. Benjamin Kalu, as the winner of the 2023 House of Representatives election for Bende Federal Constituency in Abia State. The Court of Appeal in Abuja has voided the election of the lawmaker representing Adamawa North Senatorial District in the National Assembly, Senator Ishaku Abo. Senator Abo of the All Progressive Congress, APC, confirmed to Channels Television that the court voided his election in favor of the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Amos Yohana.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Here is a very big question. Is the economy of Nigeria in distress under the Tinubu watch? Well, not so good news coming from the Bureau of Statistics today. Nigeria's inflation rate has risen to 26.72% in the month of September 2023 amid soaring food prices and harsh economic realities occasioned by the removal of fuel subsidy in May this year, when the president announced that subsidy is gone. This was according to the September 2023 Consumer Price Index and Inflation Report released by the National Bureau of Statistics, the NBS, today. The CPI, which measures the changes in the prices of goods and services, rose from 25.80% in August 2023 with an increase of 0.92 percentage points. In September 2023, the headline inflation rate increased to 26.72% relative to the August 2023 headline inflation rate, which was 25.80%. The report was as released by the NBS. Meanwhile, the federal government is planning to obtain a $1.5 billion US budget support facility from the World Bank. The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Adunu, was reported to have said this at the Nigerian delegation briefing on the sideline of the International Monetary Fund, IMF, World Bank meeting in Marrakesh in Morocco. And this is what Mr. Wale Adunu said when precisely what he said. Quote, on the talks with the World Bank on $1.5 billion US budget support, that is correct. The World Bank is the #1 multilateral development bank helping developing countries on funding developing countries, projects and programs and sectors. He went further to say it has free money through International Development Association. It is for the poorer countries, and right now I think we qualify as one of the countries that can borrow in the national, in the normal window of World Bank funding, but also some concessionary IDA funding, and that means that effectively the interest rate will be zero. Before we get into our conversation with Senator Dino Melaye, let's check in on the issues of this economy and look at how much of a trouble this country is under the watch of President Bola Tinubu. Because if we look at some of the things that have happened since May 29 that the president has gotten into power, let's dissect some of these issues for you, everyone. I'm being joined tonight by a lawyer, a political economist, a former deputy governor of the CBN, the president of the Institute for Governance and Economic Transformation, a public policy think tank, and a former deputy governor of the Central Bank, Professor Kingsley Moghalu, who joins us virtually. Thank you so much, Prof, for joining us tonight. And let's begin. No beating around the bush. Give us in summary. Do you think that the Nigerian economy is in distress at the moment?
The unambiguous answer is yes, of course. Yeah, the economy is very deeply distressed. Nigeria is practically bankrupt. There's no question in my mind about that. Poverty has increased, to very, very unconscionable degrees. Unemployment is about 40%. The Naira is in distress. So, yes, the economy is in very, very bad shape. No question about it.
I mean, so development experts will say that there is nothing wrong with borrowing. But with the kind of burden that Nigeria has, recently, a few months ago, just a few weeks after the president was sworn into office, the Debt Management Office had warned that we can no longer afford to borrow recklessly and go into more borrowings. We need to be careful, warning federal government and state governments about borrowing and about the delicate state of the economy. Now, this is what you said on your X, on your Twitter account today. And you said there is a real problem when Nigeria is set to borrow another 1.5 billion US dollar from World Bank for budget support, and SUVs worth 160 million naira each are reported to be bought for 360 members of the House of Representatives. We are not yet serious as a country. Is that an indictment on the government of the day about the seriousness to rejuvenate and wake up the sleeping economy of Africa's giant?
Yes, it is. It is an indictment on the political class, more specifically. Not just the government, because, in the government you have the executive, then you have the legislature. Now, these jeeps that are going to be bought by or for the members of the House of Representatives are going to cost, hundreds of millions of billions of naira. Now, when and you're borrowing 1.5 billion from the World Bank, the person who is lending you the 1.5 billion at the World Bank knows that at the same time as they're lending you this money, your politicians in the National Assembly are taking care of themselves with exorbitantly priced, products. Now, what do you think that person at the World Bank will do? You think he's going to say, oh, I love your country. We will not give you this loan, because it might be a mistake. No. They're in business to lend to you. That's their own institutional mandate. It is for developing countries like Nigeria to look at themselves very seriously. Why do you think that a country in the situation Nigeria is in today, where it ordinarily should not be borrowing anymore, because 96% of our revenues went to servicing external debt in 2022. And we have a debt stock of $110 billion. Nigeria is debt distressed already. So if you have this and you feel the need to still borrow, and your political leaders are engaging in this type of behavior, why would anybody take such a country seriously? There's not even a consideration to say, okay, if they must have jeeps, we are going to buy locally produced goods, jeeps that would cost maybe 50 billion each instead of 50 million each instead of 160 million each or 130. That would even show some indication, some sensitivity to the suffering of the Nigerian masses. It's simply a reflection of the fact that the political class in Nigeria more broadly have prevented the economic progress of Nigeria because of their own self-seeking and rent-seeking behavior. This is the problem. The problem is not so much about borrowing. But first of all, when you want to borrow, what are you borrowing for? Ideally, you should borrow for projects that earn a return, on investment, and help you to repay the borrowing. But that's not the kind of borrowing we do in Nigeria. Certainly since 2015, we've had all these loans, borrowing, and more borrowing, and we are being told all kinds of things to justify the borrowing. The bottom line is that it just creates distress for the Nigerian economy, especially coupled with the foreign exchange crisis. You have to pay back this money in dollars. Now, even if it's zero interest, So I'm not saying that under no condition should we borrow, but the timing is such and the situation in Nigeria that we should look inwards about the cost of governance in our country. We're not doing anything about it. And we go to very easy solutions like getting into more debt. Leadership is, is about consequences, and it's about legacy. And our political leaders in Nigeria must consider the judgment of history on them, especially at this time that we're going through. People are so poor, citizens are suffering so incredibly, and people are just living large in Abuja as if, nothing matters. And I find this quite, so when you're saying you're running an economy, you run an economy not based on technicalities. You run an economy based on the context of the society. So we need to go back to the drawing table. I would recommend that our political class seriously consider their legacy, the judgment of history on them, especially given what we're going through in Nigeria, and see what sacrifices that they themselves can make to help the federal government, shoulder the burden of responsibility. Look, the current government in place was not the government that created the mess we're in. That's just the fact of the matter. They have inherited it. They've taken some decisions, removing of the subsidies, petroleum, forex, and those decisions had to be taken. No question, we cannot continue to subsidize those things. The problem was that they did not show adequate forward thinking and planning for the consequences of those policy choices. And that is why I always talk about, the policy competence more broadly. It's not just about thinking things, or saying, oh, we will issue palliatives. What is a palliative? A palliative is not a solution to anything. It's simply a dressing on a wound that does not go to the real root cause. So the way we think about managing the economy must be more serious. It must be more, shall we say, we should look for more internal solutions, and the general cost of governance must come down because it is contributing to our fiscal distress.
So, Prof,
that's the point.
If we're looking at cost of governance, can we,
yes.
I like us to be practically speaking, I like us to be practical and speak truth to power tonight. It was a sad commentary when an economist on this program had said that the Buhari government had battered this economy and that they've set this country 20 years back in terms of economic development. And it's a sad narrative that we are at that stage, that we had 8 years, and after 8 years, experts will say there is a government that ran this economy and ran it aground to the point that they said we were being set back for 20 years. Now, if you were to speak practically, Prof, based on the manner in which governance and government is being run in this country, what are those specific things that will help us to cut down the cost of governance so that tonight, when citizens see government, because I see a lot of sirens around town these days, one person with several vehicles running around the city, in a city that looks very safe, and I'm wondering what exactly is going on. At every interval, you see sirens all over the city, and I'm wondering how many people do need these sirens. But if you are to pick out specific things that we need to cut down on in terms of cost of governance, what would that be?
Well, first of all, we need to address the culture of governance. The culture of governance we have in Nigeria is very weak. People do not feel a sense of responsibility and accountability to deliver services to the Nigerian people. And there is no real measurement of it that we can see. There is no accountability process that we can see. These things are all part of the governance architecture. So the culture of governance is a very important issue that needs to be addressed. And the tone has to be set from the top, from the presidency down, and it has to include the National Assembly, because a lot of resources go to the National Assembly and they are supposed to be independent of the executive. So they themselves must come on board, examine themselves and say, look, even if we've been making these mistakes in the past, we cannot continue this way. We have to cut our salaries. I recommend a 50% cut for all political office holders and all national legislators. It will make people a little bit more sober. It will make them understand that we're in hard times. So the culture of governance, all these excessive demonstrations of power and influence, it's a very negative culture. because it shows that government is not for service. It is for self-aggrandizement. It is for political power for its own sake, not for leadership and service. And this has to cut across the board, both across the legislature and across the executive. Cut down the salaries and the allowances. Cut down the perks of office. In European countries, in Scandinavia, you'll see a prime minister is riding his bicycle to work. Ministers are riding their bicycles. Why does everybody in Nigeria want a siren and a long convoy? There's something wrong with the way we think. And this is why the black man is poor. So all that show of power, all that show of pomp and pageantry, and you're meandering through potholes with your 20-car convoy and your SUVs, you don't pause to think, but you visit countries that are actually developed or are developing. So there's something internally wrong with our value system, and that is where we must begin. Yes.
Prof, I'll take you again to another practical, for the sake of our viewers tonight.
Absolutely.
So you look at it, and where I come from, there is a popular proverb saying, literally, that how your day will look like will exactly show in the early hours of the day. I mean, how in the morning, in the early hours, you already know how your day will pan out. And so one can imagine how a Tinubu government could be from the early day policy and decisions they have made. For you, being around the corridor of power, being the deputy governor of the CBN, for some of these policies, at a point in time, a governor and one of the state governors has said that the government of Buhari was printing money. Ways and means decisions were being badly done, and National Assembly follows suit in those policies. And you will imagine that maybe there will be a conscience or someone who will speak up in that sense. But if we are to assess what is going on right now, the early day decision and policies of the Tinubu government, economically speaking, do you think our day from the early hours on the morning is going to speak well?
I think it's a bit early to make that assessment, I must say. However, like I said, they took some courageous decisions, but they did not show deep thinking. And this is a problem we have always had in managing Nigeria's economy. People come and just talk a good game. Oh, we are looking for foreign investors. Oh, this, oh, that. At the end of the day, what translates to the ground for the common man, the average man, is joblessness and poverty. The solution to Nigeria's economic problems does not lie in technical economics. It lies in the broader culture of governance. It lies in creating an inclusive nationhood where we all have a common sense of purpose. If this is not done, you can talk until the cows come home. You can have the best of intentions, but many people do not feel included. And the economic policy making may not have the depth. It takes a lot of work to turn an economy such as Nigeria's around. And we need to see that work being done. We need to see a certain level of depth, a certain level of substance. We have to address issues of the political economy. We have to address issues of nationhood. We have to address issues of our political culture, of waste and corruption. When you want to fight corruption, you have to put in place measures that create transparency and prevent corruption. Let everybody see the money trail. How are the budgets made? Where are the line items? Where are they going? And how are they executed? What is the project management? What is the return on investment? These are the things. That's how you fight corruption. It's not just about arresting people you don't like or people who have, quote unquote, winched you in the past. That's not fighting corruption, So we just need to think very differently about Nigeria in order for our economy to be able to come up to what it should be.
Yeah. So
we also need to have some. We also need to have some very important understandings. You see, the economy needs short-term, immediate measures. Then it needs medium-term measures. Then it needs long-term measures. We are currently fiscally very distressed. I understand that. So where do they find money from? It includes cutting down the cost of governance. It includes things like maybe considering asset sales. You need to bring 10 to 15 to $20 billion into this economy quickly. But you must make sure that as you're doing that, you are planning for beyond the 1 year in which you will do this. How is the economy being structurally turned around so that we will be exporting more and more value-added goods, so that we are no longer an import-dependent economy? You must make those plans, and you must begin to execute them. You don't wait. You don't sell your assets or borrow money and finish, quote-unquote, chopping it over the next 2 or 3 years, and you're still where you were when you borrowed.
Prof,
this is the problem we've had in this country.
Yeah. I mean, the average and the poor person here in Nigeria, we can relate to my description of the indices of the economy, swirling as if a gari that you put a lot of water in, and those indices, inflation is right, food inflation rising, and these are negative descriptions.
The security situation is a big problem
now,
and it affects the food supply. The electricity situation is also very fundamental. If you don't fix the electricity problem of Nigeria, Nigeria's economy has no hope because it cannot be productive. And inflation will remain high because 40 to 50% of business costs of business owners is in electricity generator bills or expenses, and they will put it into their prices. So prices will remain constantly elevated, and such that even when you tighten the money supply, the central bank tightens the money supply, but it's not enough to fight inflation because Nigeria's inflation is not the standard kind of inflation. There's a lot of structural problems like lack of electricity and the forex problem. How do we increase the supply of forex? There are serious problems of confidence in the Nigerian economy, and that comes from governance, miscues that we see every day. Even now, we still see them, even though the economy was something that this government inherited. But we are yet to see, in my own view, I am yet to see, the level of understanding and seriousness that will actually turn the situation around. But let's wait for another 6 months. It will be 1 year, and we'll see where we are.
Yeah, Prof, on a final note, and this is how I'd like you to wrap up, I'd like to ask you to turn around things. Experts will speak to the economy, and it will listen to them if they do the right thing. If you were in President Tinubu's shoes, what would you do immediately to stem the rising indices in the negative of the economy, and to ensure that the economy is jolted such that it can be beneficial to Nigerians?
First of all, if I were the president, I need to strike directly at the political culture to restore confidence in the government. Today, the citizens of Nigeria have no confidence in the government. And that's because they see the politicians living large while they themselves are suffering. So, like I told you, the solutions to Nigeria's economic problems are not truly just technical economic issues. There's a governance lack of confidence. So I would say I'm cutting my salary 50%. All members or all political appointees, the National Assembly should follow suit. And if I were president, I would say and get the National Assembly to agree that any vehicle to be bought for any government official should be a Nigerian-produced vehicle. That's how you show patriotism. That's how you show you're responding to the situation you find yourself in. You cannot continue to live above your means. Even as an individual, I have to tailor my expenses to my ability. I live a fairly modest life. I don't go around with 20 10-car convoys. There are people who are private citizens who do that because they think they can afford it. But it's more of a value system issue. So that's a very important point. I would, if I were president, I would focus a lot on the matter of confidence. What is it that is making people not have confidence in the Nigerian economy and take immediate steps to fix it?
Professor Kingsley Moghalu, thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
We take a short break, everyone, but when we come back, Senator Dino Melaye is already here with me in our studio. He's a PDP governorship candidate in Kogi State. Will be speaking with us on his manifestos, his agenda, reasons why he wants to be the next Kogi governor. He believes that PDP can unseat the APC. How that will happen, he'll be telling us right after now, everyone. Join us again. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. I'll take you now to Kogi State. Ahead of the November 11 governorship election, INEC conducted mock accreditation exercise to test run some of the devices that will be used and the processes just to ensure that everything is set ahead of the election, which will happen in Kogi, Bayelsa, and Imo State tonight. As we've been engaging the governorship candidates in Kogi State and in some other states, Bayelsa and Imo State ahead of the election, I'm being joined by the People's Democratic Party governorship candidate in Kogi State, Senator Dino Melaye. Thank you so much, Senator, for joining us tonight.
Yeah, good evening, Sheon, and good evening, Nigerians.
How are you today?
Very well. We thank God. We bless God.
So, did you witness the mock accreditation exercise over the weekend?
Our party representatives did.
Do you think that INEC is ready?
Only INEC only INEC can answer that question.
No, from what, as someone who, you were one of those who opposed vehemently and how INEC transmitted the result at the presidential election, which a lot of people, it caused a stir at the collation center. But looking at what really happened on Saturday, you must have had an experience that will give you some sort of feeling of whether or not INEC is ready. From what you gathered from your supporters that monitored, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, a mock presentation is not enough to assess the performance of INEC, because there was mock performance in the 2023 elections, and you knew what happened afterwards. So for me, it's just that there's an opportunity for INEC to correct the mistakes, deliberate mistakes of the last election, using the instrumentality of these 3 upcoming elections. So there's an opportunity for INEC to redeem our image.
Do you think, do you have trust in INEC for this election in Kogi State?
Why will you ask that type of question when we all knew what happened in the last election? So I'm just saying that my advice for INEC is that the Kogi, Bayelsa, and Imo election is an opportunity for them to become born again.
By being born again, you mean?
Redeem their image.
Okay. So are you ready for this election? Are you campaigning already?
Already, yes, we are ready. We are waiting for the elections. It can be tomorrow.
You're ready?
Absolutely ready.
If the elections were tomorrow, how do you think you will perform?
My performance, if the election is tomorrow, is that in 2 days' time, you will be calling me governor-elect of Kogi State.
Wow. You think that, I mean, your friend is no longer on the ballot. I mean, you've had such an interesting...
Who is my friend?
The governor of your state.
Okay.
You were in the same party. You were the one who raised his hand and you said, oh, this is a voice in the hand of God at the time. But sometimes, I mean, at some point, you guys, you parted ways. And you guys have both had your issues. So you are up against the likes of Usman Ododo, against the likes of Leke Abejide, against the likes of, there are a lot of them on the ballot. I mean,
don't be deceived that Yaya Bello is not on the ballot. Ododo is physically on the ballot, but Yaya Bello is the one seeking third term through a proxy. But I will not want this debate to be about Yaya Bello. Rather, I want to market my political party and market what we have to offer the people of Kogi State.
How do you hope to unseat a ruling APC in Kogi State? What makes you think your party has a chance?
Because it has happened before. In 2003, the PDP unseated Abubakar Audu in Kogi State. It's happened before. In 2019, I was a senatorial candidate of the PDP. Yaya Bello was the governor of Kogi State, opposition party at the center. And I still won my election and I was sworn in as Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. In 2017, Yaya Bello was the sitting governor when the first organized INEC recall in this country held, and I was even in incarceration. I was in detention. 2 of my brothers were in Kuje prison. And that recall failed woefully with just 5%. So we have the history of defeating Yaya Bello before today. We have the history of defeating APC in Kogi State before today. So it's not going to be anything new. And I can assure you that this election, the PDP will win.
Let's talk about, I will go into your manifesto and agenda and what you have for the people of Kogi State. We understand that some Kogi West elders from your senatorial district had endorsed Honorable Leke Abejide of the ADC, and they have asked those of Okun extraction who are on the ballot to simply just coalesce and join forces with Leke Abejide.
Anyway, that is not correct. And I want to tell you that the first endorsement that was done through assessments about 3 months ago by a group called the Kogi West and Central Leaders Forum. And the three of us were assessed, and I was declared the choice of Kogi West and Central because after assessment, I came up with about 80-something%. Leke had about 60-something%, and Brahma had about 40-something%. A second assessment was done by our umbrella body, the Okun Development Association, ODA, where again, the result was released just about 3-4 days ago, where I came top and became the choice of ODA by that assessment. I had about 80-something%. Again, Leke had about 61%, and Brahma had about 4%. There's also OTT, the Okun Think Tank, had their own assessments, and I also came top of that assessment. And I want to assure you that the people of Okun extraction have already made up their mind on who to support. Politics, Elementary Post 101 teaches you about the fact that politics is all about structures, and you cannot win elections without structures. And I want to assure you that in every ramification, the Okun people are exposed, the Okun people are educated, they will always present their best, and they will always go for their best. Senator. And I'm surprised that the supposed Kogi elders you are alluding to, for me, it's a fiction, because some of these people you are talking about were the same people who endorsed Yaya Bello in 2019 and say they are supporting him over any other person. And the truth of the matter is that I saw even the name, they used the name of General David Jemi Benwon, our father, who for some time now, respectfully has been a bit indisposed. And I'm surprised that no meeting held. I didn't have any interaction with General David Jemi Benwon. He was not available for any interview with me or discussion with me. He did not. So to use a name of somebody like that, for me, it's actually unfortunate. But the truth of the matter is that I am the choice of our people by the grace of the Almighty God. I have been going around, and you can see from every form. In fact, the three of us from Okun are eminently qualified. And Leke Abejide is my brother. Leke Abejide is a fantastic Nigerian, is a member of the House of Representatives. But there's a time and season for everything. And I want to assure you that Dino Melaye has got the 3 E's. And that is what makes me the choice of our people. That's what makes me the choice of Kogi State.
And what are those E's?
Educated. Out of all the candidates from Okun extraction and in Kogi State, I'm the most educated. I'm the most experienced. I'm the most exposed. And it's not debatable. I was a member of the House of Reps. I've been voted twice as a Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Leke Abejide, member of the House of Reps. I was in the House of Reps 17 years ago. And the governorship of Kogi State is not a learning curve. It's not a learning ground. It's a place where you need people who definitely must have managed human and material resources over the years. And I want to tell you that it is not, the Okun nation is not in this contest to contest. We are in it to win.
But so, it looks like the House is not united. The Okun people are not united.
I can tell you categorically that we are majorly united. And I want to tell you that shortly before this election, it will become clearer. It's even clear now, you understand? But it will become clearer.
Because if the likes of General Jemi Benwon, who is an undisputable leader of the Okun people, is said to have endorsed...
I want to beg you not to please verify as an investigative journalist, please make serious verification before you can allude to. Was there a press conference? Was there voice? Were there pictures? Were there photographs? You don't just sit down in the corridor of your comfort and concur a release and send it through one of the unpopular blogs. You understand? And sell it to people.
When you were endorsed, was it?
There was documentation. That is why recently, 2-3 days ago, even the reports by ODA, the report by I won't say a referee, but by the guy who coordinated. Sorry, not the guy. He's one of our big uncles, who is a respected lawyer from Kaba, who coordinated the affair. His release, his official report was released with figures allocated to 3 of us, and 3 of us appeared before them. We were assessed. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. We were all assessed. But the question tonight is not in debating who is better or who is not better. It's on how to salvage the people of Kogi State from the unfortunate incident, condition we find ourselves.
Let's get to the real business of issue of governance. And I'd like to put this to you. We start with the issue of the economy. And in terms of industry and the potential that Kogi State has, we look at Ajaokuta Iron and Steel Complex. We look at Jakura Mabu, the Valley Food, Mokpa Okura Sawmill, Ida Ceramic Company, the Oil Palm Company, the Nigerian Iron Oil Manufacturing Company. All of these and the enormous natural resources that your state, in the heart of the North Central, very close to Abuja, that is also very significant in terms of the advantage that it has over several other states of the Federation. For you seeking that office, economically speaking, all of this potential, how much of benefit do you think this portends?
Anyway, I want to start by saying that, naturally speaking, as a people, we are too rich to be poor. We are just unfortunate that we've not been properly managed, especially in the last 7 years. Kogi states have over 2 dozens of mineral resources in commercial quantity. Unfortunately, only 1 out of these very strong resources have been exploited. That's the limestone. As I speak with you, we've got tantalite, we've got lithium, we have some percentage of uranium, we have granite, but not tapped.
How do you hope to tap all of this?
What I want to tell you is that to tap it, you need someone who have the capacity and capability to go into it and then commercialize the process to the benefit of our state. For example, to move our IGR from the comatose state it is today. Last year, the IGR of Kogi State by the Revenue Board of Kogi State is 18 billion. Per annum. That's, to me, is laughable. It's ridiculous. The Commissioner of Finance addressed a press conference and said they want to move it to 36 billion. They've not been able to.
How much can you take it to? Should you be governor?
I'm coming. I'm coming. You don't even talk about where you are taking it to without discussing processes. There are fundamental problems. Our governor will run every month to Abuja for federal allocation. I, as governor, have no business coming to Abuja with the enormous resources in Kogi State. I speak, for example, in tapping into these resources, there are loose funds all over the world today begging for attention. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. I, because I'm a global citizen, because I have my connections, will make sure that we tap into these mineral resources, make it viable, make it, marketable to the whole world, and then improve our IGR without taxing poverty. What is happening today in Kogi is you go to small shops, begin to tax them. You are taxing poverty. We are going to improve our IGR through the instrumentality of these available mineral resources without taxing poverty. Apart from these mineral resources, Shehu, Kogi State is supposed to be a global tourist attraction. Apart from the confluence the river where River Niger and Benue meets. Apart from being a confluent state, our proximity to Abuja is an advantage. And as I speak to you, Kogi is a gateway to 12 other states in this country. We have not tapped into that resource. The water that we are surrounded with is a veritable resource. If you go to Miami, you go to the Miami beach and have a marine cruise for 4 hours, 15 minutes. You pay some couple of dollars. You go to Dubai, you have a marine cruise, you pay about 500 dirhams. Do you know that the longest marine cruise in the world is that of Miami, 4 hours, 15 minutes? Or do you know that from Lokoja to Onitsha back is 8 hours cruise? You can't find it anywhere in the world. All we need to do is for me to advertise on CNN, channels, Arise, for 1 year and tell the whole world that the farthest, longest marine cruise in the world is in Nigeria, and in Nigeria is in Lokoja. Get enabling environment, get infrastructure, facilities. You will ask me, where will I get the money from? I will tell you again that the world, there are loose funds all over the world that you can tap into.
By borrowing?
And
is it by borrowing?
You're not borrowing. There are a lot of PPPs. There are a lot of build, operate, and transfer. If you don't know, you don't know. And you are bringing these investors to come and invest in Kogi State. Understand?
With all of these, Senator Melaye, just a moment, because with all of these, how high can you take the IGR in the first year?
I am telling you that as I speak, from our policy document that we have developed for the economy of Kogi State, we can make sure that by the grace of the Almighty God, within 1 year, 18 months in office, we can move the IGR of Kogi State to 100 billion. Really? From the past 18 billion that we have now, without taxing poverty, without impoverishing the people.
What would be just a moment, what would be your strongest economic point for revenue generation?
My strongest economic point, one, will be the available mineral resources in Kogi State, tourism.
But you, as a former lawmaker, you know that is in the exclusive reserve and on the Constitution.
My brother, mineral resources found within my territory, we have comparative advantage. We do.
When private investors come,
we do.
The federal
we do. Let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. We will get partners. We'll collaborate with federal government. It's not saying we're going to take over the responsibilities of the federal government or the responsibility of the Ministry of Mines and Mines, yeah. No. But what I'm saying in essence is that it's our states. We can encourage the exploration, exploitation, and marketing of mineral resources within our domain.
If you were elected, if you're an elected governor of Kogi State, what would you like to be remembered for? Or what would you like to be noted for?
One, I will be happy to correct the disunity that this present government, have planted. Before now, there was no Igala agenda in Kogi State. There was no Igbira agenda. There was no Okun agenda. Abubakar Audu became governor of Kogi State in 1999. Nobody preached Igala agenda. He preached APP. That was the party that brought him to power. Ibrahim Idris became the governor of Kogi State. It was all about heralding and preaching PDP. Idris, Wada became governor. We're preaching PDP. For the first time in our state, we have become so polarized. You now have Igala agenda, you have Okun agenda, you have Ibira agenda. My first responsibility will be to unite our people. And that is why the slogan of my campaign is One Kogi, One Destiny. After uniting our people, we are going to work on our economy. After working on our economy, we are going to work on education. As I speak with you today, apart from Ekiti State, we have the highest number of professors in this country. Yet, our universities are like glorified secondary schools. Today, there's no functional primary school in Kogi State, no teachers. Education is the bane of our development as a people. We're going to work on it. We're going to introduce ICT. We're going to work on the curriculum from primary school to our universities. We're going to work on agriculture. We're going to go into mechanized agriculture. We're going to go into plantation agriculture. We're going to have farmhouses. Understand? We're going to recruit our graduates into agriculture. Mining is going to be promoted by the grace of the Almighty God. We are going to do all this by the grace of God to make sure that Kogi State, our true potential, is revived. We have a place, one of the best plateaus in the world. It's called Mount Patti. We are going to develop Mount Patti with cable cars, with things that will attract global attention. People will be traveling to Lokoja for tourism. We are going to make sure that from where we call Natako down to the Murtala Mohammed Bridge, we are going to have boat clubs. We are going to invite international hotels, Marriott, Intercontinental, to come and build 3-star, 5-star hotel by the bank of our river. Our copper is not going to be there. We're going to approach the federal government to declare those places a free trade zone, give incentives, give tax holidays to make sure that investors will come and take over. And more importantly, I'm going to build a new Lokoja. Zealand was in existence before you had New Zealand. York was in existence before you had New York. You understand? So we are going to make sure that we build new Lokoja, just like El-Rufai did within 4 years in Abuja. He built 4 new districts. Built Utako, built Katampe, built Jahi. We are going to build 4 new districts we are going to call New Lokoja. Because Lokoja is a colonial city. Lokoja is the former capital of this country. We have all the historical antecedents to build tourism in Kogi State.
We need to go, Senator. And I'd like to ask you, the last time you said your campaign is being powered. You were talking about the funding of your campaign. This time around, you've gotten some help from your friends? Or how are you funding your campaign?
Anointing oil.
That's what you're using?
Anointing oil.
If you don't win this election, what would you do?
I will win the election.
What gives you the
guarantee? Because the people of Kogi State have made it known and made it clear that I'm the candidate to beat. And we will not allow the APC to rig the election. We're going to defend this election. And I'm telling you today, nobody is interested in APC in Kogi State because percentage salaries are being paid. There's poverty all over the place. No road, no water. Capital of Kogi State is Lokoja. Over 1 year, no water drop in the capital city.
Senator, we need to
the people are completely disenchanted as they are disenfranchised and they are not happy.
I hope your certificate is intact.
It has never been questioned.
Really?
It has never.
Which one did you submit?
It has never been questioned.
Which one did you submit to INEC?
All my certificates were submitted.
Or you just presented your secondary school certificate?
All my certificates were submitted, including your present school. That is my alma mater, Base University.
Thank you so much, Senator Dino Melaye. Thank you so much, and I wish you the very best in the election. Thank you indeed. That's our show for tonight, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Sean Kimale. I'll see you tomorrow again at 7 p.m. God bless Nigeria.